What is up, comic fans? Welcome to the Legion of Comics. It's Sunday night. That means it's at week's end. The spoiler-filled look back at this week in comics and so much more. Tonight is a special episode as we just had a massive new movie from the MCU drop. And massive is very subjective. Very tiny characters in this one. But we're going to be doing a full spoiler look back on Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania right after this. Be sure to check out BigTimeCollectibles.com for all your, exclusive needs. Yeah, that sounds right. Check them out for your exclusive needs. And hit up our friend Justin if you need anything cleaned or pressed. The links are in the description to all my videos. Let's talk about exclusive needs as we go.
I have some exclusive needs.
Mr. Paul Cook, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well, thank you. How about yourself?
Doing good. Nick, Chris, DJ, thank y'all for being here. Well, obviously, Chris. DJ, Nick, thank y'all for being here.
Thanks for the invite. And speaking of exclusive needs, I've been picking up a bunch of Power Hour #1s. And those been scratching the itch.
Jesus Christ.
What's one of the stores you can find those at?
BigTimeCollectibles.com.
Big Time Collectibles for all your Power Hour exclusive needs. Chris, they have them at the Comic Kingdom of Canada as well.
Yeah, they sure do. I get the email blasts all the time. I was actually scrolling through some of their back issues, and they're not afraid to show everything on that website. So,
yeah, a lot of the websites will cover up the exclusive needs portion of the cover.
Yeah,
and they do areola.
Yeah.
Areola.
Areola.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Were you? Is that guy in the chat, Chris?
Yeah, that guy's in the chat.
Yeah. Let's say hello to the chat real quick, and we'll dive into. We got Scrucius 1971. He showed up at 7:30 to drop his comment because I think last week TM beat him to it. So he said, "Not today, Satan." And TM came in second with a hello from old Canada. Tylox is up in the building, collecting dirt. What's up? Shop for Comics. Quick hello. Haven't seen it yet, so making like a baby to end. Heading out. I wanted to give a hey. Dr. Von Hoot from the Spiral Dimension. What is happening? Quantumanium time for sure.
What's up?
Norton,
Really,
Norton 82. What is happening?
What's up?
KBDM, what is up, brother? Hello. People scrolling fast here. Trev, how are you doing tonight? Trev said, Mark, Paul, Chris, Nick, links. Present.
Here.
Yeah, here. Ed Quake Jr., what is going on? Comics Elite get the Power Hour first, as far as I know. They all release on the same date. They're pre-order books. They're shared exclusives. But I think things different exclusive folders for different ones. I'm not actually here. I'm a clone. See how it goes. Got to watch out for that guy. Yeah, I do believe the ones that Big Time gets, that they partner with Comics Elite, as they get a lot of Big Times now. You start to see like a Big Time is starting to get where you see the regular people that get some of their exclusives as well. I just found this shop called God, I already forgot the name of it. It's like a red and white logo, and it's spelt funny. It's like Far Side. It's spelled weird, really funny. But I just found just found a new shop called Far Side because they were getting some of the Jang ones, and that like hit my feed. And they got some really cool stuff too. So that's one of the partnering stores, like Comics Elite, Big Time, Far Side. So definitely check out those other ones. If they sell out at one, they're definitely still out there.
Yeah, Far Side and Big Time Collectibles shared a booth at New York Comic Con.
There it is, Far Side. Yeah, that's how they spell it. Yeah, it seemed to be a smaller shop, but seemed to be a decent shop. There's some stinkers out there. You never know till you know, though. So this is a big night. We just found out that some kind of hockey game is on for the All-Stars or something like that, Chris said.
No, basketball.
And also, The Last of Us just started airing. I'm excited to watch that as soon as we're here tonight. Yeah, exactly.
Peace out, everybody.
I was talking to my oldest right before. Called her about 8:30 just to touch base with her. And when I called her, she was laughing hysterically because she was telling her mom that The Last of Us was coming on. And she goes, I probably need to call Dad. And right as she said that, she said the phone rang where I was calling her just to remind her that it starts at 9 this week instead of on Friday. So it's been really fun watching how excited she's getting with this show, and we talk about it all week long. And she even went and drew one of the clickers. Now I posted it on my IG if you haven't seen it. She was wondering if she should color it in or not, and she didn't want to ruin how it looked, but she also wanted to see what it looked like and didn't know what to do. So I posted it up there and asked for some feedback from the comic community. So if y'all haven't seen that, go leave her some feedback because she's checking in on that stuff. She's wondering what to do. I think Paul's had the idea that really hit her the strongest. He pretty much said do a color hold, just do some light shading with just a couple colors or something on it.
Some blood.
That's a good idea.
But yeah. Y'all ready to get into this? Dive right into the quantum realm.
Absolutely, sir.
Everyone, I went and saw it on Thursday. Chris, you saw it on Thursday as well.
Yep.
Nick,
Thursday night.
DJ, you went on Friday, didn't you?
I went on Thursday, man.
Oh, you did go on Thursday? Oh, later Thursday. And Paul, you went today.
I'm
I
offended.
started earlier today. Yes.
So let's see how it holds up because Nick already said he was had forgotten a lot of this stuff. So Nick, just go around and give like our grade of the movie, however you want to grade the movie. Just before we get into breakdowns, where does this movie sit for you on a grading scale?
I give it a 6.5 out of 10. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best. I don't feel any need to. Well, maybe I'll watch it one more time. But yeah, for me, I was worried going into it because of all the bad press it was getting, all the bad reviews. But I was kind of blown away with the visuals. Story was a little bit right in the middle. And there was some terrible humor, terrible jokes that really didn't hit with me. So kind of like 6.5, a little bit more on the favorable side, but right in the middle for me.
I'm sorry, real quick. Aggressive left a comment about The Last of Us. I just don't get it. I'd love to see a mushroom effing try to raise his voice to me. Chris, how many Maple Leafs did Ant-Man earn?
Bloody mushrooms. Keep him in the dark and standing in shit. I'm kind of with Nick. 3.5 out of 5. 3.5 Maple Leafs out of 5. Thank you, Nick.
Paul, where do you rate it? You have a very fresh in your mind.
I think I would give it 4 holes out of 7.
4 out of 7 holes.
Well done, Paul. I understood that reference. Well done.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a good one.
And DJ, how many handies did this one earn you?
Got me about 3.5 handies out of 5 handies. So a little bit better than half.
Okay.
I mean, I was still able to climax with 3.5 handies, so I'm good. Shout out to handies. Very underrated. Handies are very underrated.
And on the color scale, I give this one it's right at the yellow green. It's not quite green, but it's yellow green. And up.
Grello.
It's Grello. I give it Grello.
Mellow yellow.
Frank Grello.
It's better
Frank
than
Grillo.
orange. Yes.
Oh, it's definitely not Rorange. Who else counted the holes when they said that? I didn't know he could do that. What is going on, loaders? How are you doing tonight? All right, so the plot was pretty straightforward in this one. There wasn't much to really break down or get into. It didn't feel like there was a lot of like hidden meaning or messages to this one. Ant-Man as well as the Wasp seem to be doing a lot better in life. You see like they're getting along well. Their relationship is blossoming. She's running her dad's company. His daughter's a little bit older and running around as almost like a activist and stuff and getting into a lot of trouble. But she seems to have gotten close with her grandpa Hank and conducting experiments with him that ultimately leads them, just like you see in the trailer, to accidentally get drugged into the quantum realm where Janet spent all of this time. And we discovered that it's so much more than this empty place in the molecular level, but it's a whole world teeming with life. What were y'all's thoughts about like the setup of the movie, the whole intro, the character introductions, all that stuff that we see through there?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Like it wasn't bad. It was fine. I was the beginning was very Disney family movie vibes. Like I was getting like 90s Disney family movie vibes. And I was just like, meh. I was here for it. But I wasn't like, oh my God, this is the greatest. Meh.
I mean, holy shit! There's people who look like broccoli there.
Yeah, the same thing. I mean, what DJ said, like the beginning where he's mistaken for Spider-Man. The coffee shop owner thinks he's Spider-Man. That's kind of like a Disney trope type of a thing. But the overall story, I was, I don't know. It's like he wants to escape. You can't let him escape. But if he doesn't escape, then something worse could happen. So he can't win either way, right? So it's like, I don't know. There wasn't it didn't feel as though there was any world altering type threat that was going on to me.
You're
Mark,
muted.
You on mute?
Sorry, it was a very self-contained movie. I remember seeing some of those early reviews talk about how this is one we'll look back on at all this setup stuff, and I'm like, I didn't really see that when I watched it, but yeah, when we got,
just for the post-credit scenes when they do the setup, like for me, immediately I felt. So we were getting 3 different mashups of movies, right? So for me, it was like we got some Disney's 90s stuff. That when they first went down to the Quantum Realm was giving me Star Wars vibes all day. Like I was just like, what the hell?
even Hope's little visor that she had when they put on the outfit with like the slick little slim eye slit on it and everything.
Yeah, when they were on that, even on that that creature that it looked like where General Grievous was at in episode 3. So I got like a lot of Star Wars vibes and then Rick and Morty vibes all day. So it was like, what the hell is going on here? But still, it was still fine. It was still enjoyable.
Chris, what do you think of the Quantum Realm and all that?
I was gonna say, just even the CGI to me wasn't really all that great. I mean, I know we'll probably get into it, but I mean, could there have been a worse MODOK? I don't really think that there.
No, it's not even possible.
He was more terrified when he was covered in gold than when he took off his face, and you saw. It was like, to me, it was not good CGI, my opinion. Sorry, Chris, didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
Real quick, aggressively said he loved how many times he pushes his daughter out of trouble and pointed out the hypocrisy of it being cool to do revolution in the quantum realm, but not in San Francisco. Beautiful piece of art. Well, to be fair, he tried not to do the revolution in the quantum realm either. He was fighting her against that as well.
To be fair.
If by chance, by some sort of slim chance, on behalf of everyone that's in this chat, everyone that's on this panel, if that slim chance some sort of Disney executive watches this live stream, do yourselves a favor and go rewatch The Winter Soldier. Mimic what's in The Winter Soldier. The comedy is necessary for scenes in which it's there. It's not forced comedy. It's not derivative. The action is well choreographed. The acting is exactly what you need for a major character in a movie that's going to be felt for a very long time in the next 10 to 15 movies, the way that The Winter Soldier was. This was a farce. They promised the next Thanos. They set up this Kang that we're seeing is the worst Kang of them all. And yet he gets defeated by Ant-Man. I'll say that again. He gets defeated by Ant-Man.
In a
fist. And yet
fight.
they promised him the next Thanos who choked out Loki, the god of mischief, beat the crap out of the Hulk. So much so that the Hulk could never go back to full-size Hulk. By the way, everyone on this panel has a problem with what you're doing with the Hulk as well.
He's still castrated from Thanos.
And then Thanos literally rips apart the universe. This Kang that's supposed to be the worst of them all. Again, I'll say that one more time. The worst Kang, the one that's banished from the Council of Kangs, stood toe-to-toe with Ant-Man, got bloodied, And they're probably 25 years in difference if you look at the two people. By the way, Jonathan Majors was superior in this movie. But how are we supposed to take Kang seriously from here on out when the worst of the worst was defeated and sucked into a Dyson? Enough's enough. Enough's enough.
Nothing sucks like an Electra.
I don't care that they gave us Star Wars meets Avatar and it's supposed to be nice and pretty. By the way, Michelle Pfeiffer did a great job of being the mysterious mom. As someone whose mom doesn't like talking about her past, Michelle Pfeiffer did a good job, even though she looked like Boosh from Princess Leia from Empire Return of the Jedi. Big failure on that part. They went and got themselves a great comedic actor, and they didn't let him flex any chops whatsoever. This movie, I feel generous 3.5. Generous 3.5. Just because I like what Paul Rudd tried to do with the movie.
Paul Rudd did
dragged it kicking and screaming. Jonathan Majors dragged this movie kicking and screaming. But my God, you can't set up the worst of the worst Kangs and then have him be defeated and wipe no one out in the cast. How are we supposed to take this character seriously when the first time we legitimately see Thanos, he destroys all of almost everyone that's left in Asgard on that ship, chokes out Loki, kills him, beats the crap out of Thor, beats the crap out of the Hulk, so much so that both those characters have PTSD. And by the way, you're ruining Thor too.
No,
my rant's over. But this was a farce. This was a farce.
I thought for a second we were going to get a Les Grossman moment out of Chris for a second.
Waiting on the turn up. All right, Chris, swing it over. What were some of the highlights for you?
Jonathan Majors' performance was excellent. Paul Rudd, I thought, did what he could with a weak cast, or pardon me, with a weak script. Again, I enjoyed Michelle Pfeiffer's character. Bill Murray was a complete and utter waste of time. Like, I don't know why he even reading that script. I would have been like, nope.
You've seen Tron Legacy, right? No, I'm not saying that to be joking. No, you've seen Tron Legacy. Yes. When I was watching it, I immediately was starting to think about Tron Legacy. They go into the grid. One of them has been there before and is running from the one that was left behind, who's rebuilt it in their image and wants out. Doesn't really want to get in the details of it. They go and see Michael Sheen. What was it? Michael Sheen's character, Castor, in the club, who turned him over and had the bad guys come in there to come get him, and then they have to run from him. There was so much of the plot that was actually Tron Legacy retold, which I'm a huge Tron Legacy fan, so it was just blaring to me. And I know, I said this before, but all of Phase 4 has just been wash repeat of movies we've seen from Disney recently. But it didn't take away from my enjoyment. This is what's different with this movie. I've said it already to some of y'all. It was a bad movie, but it was fun. It was super fun for me. When I was watching, dude, I would normally hate seeing this. The whole goofy resistance people with the cock rocket houses that they were living in. I know, come on. Let's be real. With how excessive the characters were and some of the classic or more modern Disney tropes that were prevalent through this movie and beating you over the head. But I still thought it was fun. I had a blast. I think it has to do with I enjoy Ant-Man stuff as a character. The franchises are fun. I even enjoy the second one. I enjoy bad movies sometimes, and that's okay. If you have a bad movie, as long as it delivers on the fun, it can outweigh it. And that's what happened with this one for me. It definitely outweighed it.
Beating it to the head with cock rockets.
Cock rocket houses, Nick. Houses.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. Like I said, even though I gave it a 3.5, whatever, it was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I went in with low expectations to begin with. Ant-Man 1 is a decent movie. Ant-Man 2 is terrible, in my opinion. So this one I went in with very low expectations. And I guess I don't know. If I went in with high expectations and expecting, like Chris was saying, Winter Soldier stuff and all that, maybe I would have felt different. For me, I was just hey, this is a pretty cool movie. Jonathan Majors, definitely the highlight of this whole thing. I didn't care for Bill Murray. I didn't care for Michelle Pfeiffer. The whole time I'm where was Kang when Ant-Man was in the quantum realm for 10 hours between the blip? So, but that's just whatever. I thought MODOK was horrible, but fucking funny. His shit was so bad, it's instant classic.
The end when he was dying, he's we were brothers. Wait, we were? At least I get to die an Avenger. And they're Yeah, they definitely accept you. Lots happened today. It was terrible.
It was very reminiscent of Paul Rubens in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the guy who played Pee Wee Herman. When he dies in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, it's the same thing, that slow, agonizing, over-the-top death. Yeah.
I laughed at MODOK too, but the first time I laughed was when I saw him, which was the problem.
Yeah,
he definitely had some really good lines. I don't think it's a mistake that this week, Bob Iger came out and said that we're going to start slow rolling Marvel and Star Wars movies, because we're putting out way too many, and the quality has gone down. So some of the things that they've announced already, like Nova, has already been put on the shelf for a while. So hopefully, especially from there you go. Especially for a lot of the TV series that we're talking about too, because he thinks the TV series are way too expensive for what they're doing. And some of them, do we need an Agatha movie? Is that really going to move the story forward or whatever? I don't know.
No.
Yeah. That whole slate is trash.
Yeah. That whole third act with MODOK for me is almost what ruined the movie for me. That whole weird interaction. Yeah, that whole interaction between him and Cassie was terrible.
Terrible. I just don't think she was likable.
No.
What was weird is I agree. So, all right, trying to sum up some of my thoughts. The CGI was awful. It was terrible. But being where it was, in the quantum realm, I thought that cartoony vibe, which it had a massive cartoony vibe to it. I thought, it worked for this. And I've come to expect that lower quality CGI from Disney. It's nothing new. Their CGI artists have been outspoken about the terrible working conditions that they get with deadlines and what's considered acceptable. Their work is being taken and turned in for them. They're like, we can do more. And they're like, no, this is fine, kind of thing. So we know we're going to get bad CGI with Disney. So I kind of that's over here now. That's no longer living in my head when I'm watching these. It's unfortunate, but you have to go into them accepting that. It doesn't mean you're still not surprised when MODOK pulls his helmet up and he looks like that. But Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, for me, again, MODOK to me was hilariously terrible. So I think it was supposed to be bad. I was telling my daughter about it, and she was just like, "Oh, he was supposed to be like George Lopez from Shark Boy and Lava Girl with the stretched face." So it was so terrible. It was just in a different aspect ratio, and it was just freaking hilarious. But it was. I'm not trying to defend it or anything. It was horrible. But I was just like, okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah, but keep in mind, Shark Boy and Lava Girl was red and blue lens made. That, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't 3D. Digital, real D or IMAX. That was red and blue lens. So, and we got somebody that we compare it to.
They're using the preeminent CGI people, right? They're using ILM for all that stuff, right?
They use a lot of different VX houses, but yeah, they definitely are.
And I'll be honest with you, Industrial Light and Magic has always looked cartoony to me. If you go back and you look at something that they did 20 years ago and look at it up against other things that year, they've never been like the Wetaworks. You know what I mean? They've always been Industrial Light and Magic that looks stylized or cartoony compared. We got, what was it, the Phantom Menace the same year as the Matrix? These two things do not compare. It's just a different house of artists over there.
I just want to highlight that Nick said preeminent.
Oh, yeah, Nick. You've been reading the dictionary?
Yeah.
J-Man says 4 out of 10 for him. He hated Cassie. Kang was great, but in the wrong movie. His motivations were non-existent, and he should be able to destroy them easily. Also found it really dark. Hard to see what was going on. So let's talk about Kang for a minute, because this was Jonathan Majors' real, I'm here because we got that little scene at the end of Loki, which was fantastic, getting him with the philosophy conversations and stuff, and the sense of wonder that he had on his face, and the elation he had of these people finding him, knowing what it could mean. He did a stellar performance, and getting to see a variant completely different, just cold, heartless, calculated. Dude, I was in awe every minute he was on the screen. And this sounds stupid, but the first time I saw Suicide Squad with Jared Leto's Joker, not knowing what was going to happen, when he entered the room, I was on pins and needles because it's the Joker. Not because it was Jared Leto, but I'm like, dude, this is about to get nuts. What's going to happen? And that's how I felt with Kang, which is a fantastic feeling when you're watching a movie. If they're trying to deliver that, and they do, they're doing their job. Like, I was just hanging on every word he said, waiting on the pin to drop.
See, which is kind of funny to me because in ways he didn't live up to the hype. You know what I mean? Because
I'm talking strictly on his performance at this point, not necessarily the writing they did.
Yeah, I just felt like when he's like in the trailers for Creed, I feel that from him. I feel that menace from him. You know what I mean? For here, except for the part where he was whooping Ant-Man's ass, like that physicality was what I expected from him. But I didn't get that throughout his whole performance, I don't think.
I got it when he was standing still the most. Like for me, like I was comparing this to how I read comics and how I vision Sinestro in my head. Like he's above the rest of it. The fact, like when they were in the holding cells and he asked them, he told them what he wanted from them and they said no. And then he did his thing and he got what he wanted instantly. And before they hit the ground, his hands were back in front of him and he's not even looking at him. And Ant-Man gets in his face to threaten him. Don't ever touch my daughter again. He doesn't even look at him. Just do what I ask then, like that. That's like commanding power. It's like Bane in The Dark Knight Returns when the man says, I'm in charge. And Bane just puts the back of his hand on his shoulder. Do you feel in control? Like that's the kind of shit that hits like that. He doesn't have to use his physicality because that makes it more scary. It's the show, like less is more kind of thing for me.
And that part in the end, when you're just vaporizing people, that's what I expected throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, the fact that he didn't do that sooner was almost like a plot hole in itself.
Yeah.
No, but back to his performance, like Mark, you said, his just commanding presence when they were doing the whole thing with his throne ship deal, whatever, and then she saw what was going on, which is like so old school. Like you touch that, oh my God, I see everything. I'm having these visions. But the way he just changed like his stance. And it was just like, holy shit, just changing his stance. And it was like,
as he knew, he waited on her to process. He knew what happened when she touched it. And he just sits there and just waits. Like, I'm like, dude, here's the flip. Here it comes.
Yeah, that was the heel turn. And I thought, with his blue mask and all that stuff, he didn't need it at all. So, and I'm super surprised. I prefer Kang without that and just his regular face as opposed to the blue
with the scars.
Yeah.
I mean, like it took away because he was acting so much without even saying a word. Just the way like when people were trying to talk to him or interact in the room, the way like it was just not natural reaction to people talking to you. That's not how people interact at all. Like his disassociation from these people on any kind of level, personal or otherwise, that was so telling to the character. Like that I just thought that it was impressive. I thought Kang was freaking awesome.
Like I thought he delivered as King perfectly. That incredible arrogance that Kang carries himself with that incredibly high intelligence. You have to remember, Kang is just a normal person, no superpower whatsoever. It's just everything that he is, he's taken from the tech from the future and has come back. Like they try to push the fact of his intelligence by saying that he's a grand descendant of Reed Richards. As we all know that Reed Richards and T'Challa are the two most intelligent people in Marvel Comics. So that's why they really try to push Kang as supposed to being a superior in intellect villain. But it's just, I think they dropped the ball with not making him a true villain by wiping someone in the cast out. They had more than enough characters, 5 dominant characters that one of them could have fallen to let people know like this guy's for real. And in the end, the Dyson shows up and there's no more Kang.
That's a good point, though, Chris. Real quick, not to blow past that, because I'd definitely like to touch on that. We've seen the trailer for Guardians 3. We saw the trailer for this. They both had these crazy heavy tones, and we talked about it when Wakanda was going on, like having lost Black Panther, knowing that we're going to be losing characters in Guardians 3, and then seeing the Ant-Man trailer and everybody speculating on the potential loss of characters in that, and how that's like such a aggressive move on the MCU's part to possibly bring some like weight back to this, like stakes back to it, to go through this whole movie and it be like we left it the same way we came into it kind of thing. Nothing,
like no change,
nothing changed. What are everyone's thoughts on that, Paul? What were you thinking? I know you had a lot with the wasted plot potential with this one.
Yeah, and I think how much if someone had sacrificed their their life to defeat Kang, that would have carried so much more emotional weight. And I think it wouldn't have come down as almost useless as just this fist fight, or these ants, that, cheer at the end, doing this, um, defeating him instead. Yeah, I really thought that it was a waste of the Conqueror Kang, and there was, you know, it 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 makes me fear for makes me fear for how they're going to. I know they have the whole Council of Kangs to go up against, but to Chris's point, if he's the worst one and he gets defeated by Ant-Man, who he even tells Ant-Man, you're out of your league, and he was right, and he still beats him. That's not a good look for the Marvel universe going forward. I don't think.
See, now this
They
is
have
the
some
thing too.
they have some level setting to do. Sorry, Nate.
It's always. I feel that we might have to take like a wait and see with this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was part of his plan. The whole
Part of his plan.
time. If it is, it's gonna. It's like one of those things we have to wait a year. It'll make this movie better if that's his plan. If it doesn't it'll make it that much worse.
It's kind of weird too to think, because like we saw how he ended. They took a handful of the shrinking and growing chips and smashed it on the power source, and he got yanked into it. We also know from the explosion itself, it didn't blow up, it didn't destroy the room, it caused no further damage to the room that Hope and Scott were standing in. So he clearly just got shrank down, right? Like, is that how y'all took that? He's just got shrank,
just like Darren did in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
So is he going to come out with
just
little legs
level.
or something?
Yeah, he went to the quantum realm.
Okay.
Nick, to your point, Nick, if I have to wait 3 to 5 years for this movie to pay off, then that's not a very good job of what this movie is supposed to do.
I agree.
Tyler,
is this for real?
I still can't believe Ant-Man passed Titanic to become the third highest grossing movie ever on opening weekend too. Actually, he's kind of joking with you, Chris, because that's actually Avatar that just did that. Only 2 movies stand in front of it, which is Avatar and Endgame.
Wow.
So Avatar.
Yeah. Could this Kang stop the upcoming Kang War? Also, I wish Scott was talking to another Avenger, even Sam, since him and Scott are friends, about the potential threat that Kang was warned Scott about.
Listen, they should have killed off Michael Douglas
and Michelle Pfeiffer.
No, Michelle Pfeiffer's
Evangeline Lilly.
Yeah, or they kill off Scott, and this propels Cassie propels Cassie into her arc.
But I mentioned that a bunch of times. I said this in my channel. I've said on other channels. I don't think Ant-Man's getting out of this movie alive, because they need to set up how evil Kang is going to be. Mm-hmm. And of the 5 main characters that were at the beginning of the movie, they were there at the end.
This is a great point. Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say 2 things. One, Chris's point, Thanos, as bad as he was, no hero really died. Well, besides Iron Man. Iron Man obviously died at the end of that, but but he died again because he was wearing the gauntlet and he did the click and thing like that. So, but if Kang had managed to kill one of the characters or 2 of the characters, that would have elevated him almost equal or above what Thanos had done.
Well, Thanos came in with the whole Loki thing, so I mean, the first couple of times he was on there, he really set the tone for what he was all about.
Mm-hmm.
So
here's a good point from Jeff. This movie didn't lead into the next. We know Guardians of the Galaxy is coming. Where do y'all think that will lead? And that was something that I thought about when I saw the end of this. I'm like, okay, so this movie gives us our after credit scene, but back in the Infinity Saga, it wasn't always like that. They would give you a movie, a little like with the first Avengers, you had them sitting at shawarma, eating shawarma, still in their suits from the Battle of New York. But then they gave you a Thanos stinger. Then in the next movie, you had an after credit scene that referenced the movie you're watching. Then another Infinity Stone stinger. And then, what I'm saying, the stingers didn't lead you to the next movie always. That's what was tying the phase together. So if Guardians is standalone and phenomenal, like I'm sure it will be at least phenomenal, as long as they give us a Kang stinger, it doesn't have to have context necessarily to that movie other than just maybe them being aware the High Evolutionary is down. This is part of our, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's kind of interesting. We don't always need like this to lead directly into that thing. They need like J-Man said earlier, they need to focus on the damn movie you're making. A stinger's supposed to be a stinger, not like a deleted scene.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Maybe his plan was to be beaten and in the super micro quantum verse to survive the many Kang wars. Hey, Pocan Joe. Yeah, who knows what their plan is? This is one of those things based on the negative.
Exiled there, so they know where he is, right?
Yeah, they put him there.
Yeah,
if they're going to bring Kang into the universe, they need Kang be destruction it up and then hammered down by a new set of heroes. And I wonder if this leads all to the new Avengers because we've got so many of them on the board now.
I secretly hoped that we would have seen the Fantastic Four down there, or some sort of reference to the Fantastic Four, or that be one of the stingers, or even Doctor Doom be referenced, or somehow that Kang would have referenced Doom, and nothing. And I know that you're talking about these movies need to stand alone right now, but my God, man, they need some sort of hope, like what, and I don't mean hope with the next phase. I mean hope for the fans in general, because right now, like, we're missing Captain America, like all the original Avengers, we're missing them because outside of Ant-Man himself, how likable is this new plethora of characters that we're having? Thank you.
For me, zero.
Like, I enjoy Paul Rudd, and I enjoy Paul Rudd's performance as Ant-Man, but I didn't bank on him surviving this. I thought he was going to be the casualty to lift. I know I keep saying this, but to lift Kang up. As of right now, Kang to me is not menacing. Like, what do I have to face? Ramatut? Like, come on, man. Like, it doesn't, there's nothing scary. I think that the High Evolutionary is going to be way more frightening to do with as a villain than what Kang was exiled Kang was. Only because I've read, the High Evolutionary and the X-Men in the 80s. And yeah, he was a nightmare to deal with.
You should know by now it's going to be nothing like
that. Yeah. Chris, like since me and you've been on here doing this, like we've talked about it since like the earliest shows, like when Thor Ragnarok would get brought up, talk about how they've blown through 60 years of comic history in a decade, and now we're just going to be flopping in the mud. And that's exactly what we're doing now. I don't care how they build up these characters. I don't care what they do to push like the Marvels later. You will never have the fan engagement and attachment to these characters like you do with Captain America, Iron Man, Thor. And I don't care how many times I hear someone say Iron Man was a C-list character. He's just, more people knew who he was than they gave credit for. He's been in like popular pop culture in some way, shape, fashion, or form, in cartoons or toys or this and that, on merchandise since the longest time. Like, you just won't get that same level of interaction and love for these new characters.
Right. Like, how many people knew of Black Widow? Like, let's be honest, right? And yet she's a part of the original Avengers set that we had for the MCU. But yeah, it's like, I thought Shang-Chi was going to be good. Third act, terrible. Like, again, I thought Wakanda Forever is probably the best offering they've had since Endgame, and people like to rip that apart too, for whatever reasons. I'm just saying, I think that's the best one that we've had so far.
We got all night.
This was a hard belly flop, and I think all of us on this panel tonight are being generous when we give it a half.
I'm about to say, I want to move over completely because we've given our critiques, but like I said, I actually enjoyed this movie. I don't think I'm going to sit there and rewatch this one tons of time. I'm definitely going to end up watching it again, maybe once. I say that, but a lot of times when they come out on digital, I end up turning them on and I hear a noise or see a squirrel and go do something else. And that's just what happens for the most part. But there's a lot about this movie that I did enjoy. And I do want to get into some of that now. And for me specifically, some of the goofy characters that they introduced in the Rebellion, there was their comedy elements where people are saying the comedy didn't land, this and that. It was so goofy. And it could have been like, it was date night with the wife and we're having fun being out. Like, that adds to it, like the setting and everything. But we were laughing our butts off at some of that stuff, like the little dude that he drank and everything, and then the way that the mind reader was interacting and responding to him, like that, counting the holes, I thought was hilarious. Like I just thought that was absolutely great. There were some really like hell yeah moments in this, like when Cassie went full stature. I'm like, hell yeah.
That and when the light bulb dude started frying people.
That was all. When the tsunami of ants came in at the end, you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And you got like that cool wave. It looked like an actual wave coming in. But then they gave you that shot with the backlit coming through the dust. Hank Pym with a duster jacket on. Sorry, I'm late. I'm like, hell yes. Hell yes. That was cool as shit.
For me, that hit and miss. I thought the ant thing was kind of cool, and I thought about it for a second. I was like, really? What's going to beat Kang? Really?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I fell asleep and then.
Now that's
no, because you just said Hank Pym came in on the. I fell asleep.
Now that's something that I was talking to somebody about today. So we saw Kang use his personal force field to survive nothing less than a nuclear explosion when Janet set off his reactor core. He stood right next to it and put up a force field and kept himself alive. Fast forward to the end, he has 6 ants on his shield, 6 ants, and he can't hold them off.
It was only a 5-ant shield.
Robo ants.
You know what I'm saying, though? Just like the weight and strength of these ants crawling on him took out his shield. So that kind of got me. I'm like, oh man, that's a little off.
5-ant rated.
Yeah, it was only a 5-ant shield.
Yeah, it happened.
They got the Walmart edition, man. Should have went to Target.
Paul, what were a couple of moments that you enjoyed from this one?
As much as I didn't like the look of MODOK, the death scene to me was just incredible. I really love that. It was, the dialogue, the way that he, the way that he reached out to Scott and was like pawing him and everything. It was like
with that little hand.
That's what I'm saying. It was so terrible.
I really awesome. did enjoy that part. So, and overall, the CGI I guess wasn't really that bad. To me, the CGI the whole thing reminded me more of a Guardians of the Galaxy type of a film than it did anything else. Just the way that the whole backdrop and everything was kind of like this nondescript. Planets and you have asteroids and everything, whatever it was. But I love the interaction. I love the drink the ooze. The ooze.
That was straight up Rick and Morty vibes. That entire thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yep, definitely. So yeah, there were some good things to hang your hat on. So
yeah, this is not one that I'll purchase when it comes out, as I gave up a long time ago on purchasing Disney superhero stuff. I haven't bought a single thing out of Phase 4.
I still do, just because I'm a completionist.
Dude, I am too, and I gave up on it. But I'm also a lot more jaded with Disney than you are. I started my jadedness at Thor Ragnarok big time. Like I came onto YouTube and met y'all already saying these exact complaints that more and more people are having every day about it. I just had a shorter fuse for it. Ragnarok was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was it.
I thought
the Schrodinger's cat scene.
You're the cat. Yes, the probability storm was super cool.
That was pretty cool. And then the whole thing when he went at Kang at the end when he was Giant Man with the whole shield thing, I thought that was kind of cool also.
Yeah, when he actually came kicking the walls down, just screaming Kang.
Oh yes,
he had a deal.
I was also severely disappointed there was no Luis in this movie.
Yeah, that was
huge.
But they gave us MODOK and the pink guy instead.
No, the pink guy.
I thought,
Jaded Mark.
Yeah, it's funny because for the first after credits stinger, I thought it was gonna be Luis.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, so I was waiting for it, and then I was just like, wait, what?
Question: If I convert comic book community like this one could write a story, what y'all write then put in the theaters? Well, I think he's asking you what would we do with a story. Like I do want to say, Flo Dameron.
He's not writing it, right?
No, hopefully not. And someone's gonna have to proofread my shit. But if Flo Dameron, he's does the Bada Boom podcast stuff. He put up a video on just a quick little history of Kang, and in that he actually is giving some predictions of what he thinks we might see in the movie. And if you go back and look, it's almost every time what fans are predicting could happen just based off what we know and the characters, 10 out of 10 times it's better than what you see in the movies. Like the connections that we make with these characters and stuff, and like anything that someone thinks of as a comic book fan is going to be better than what the writer mills that Disney does. Not saying they always are trash, but the fans just have a better eye for this stuff. They really do. Like Flo was making connections to Ravana and everything, and linking it with the comics and stuff.
That's because we like live and breathe this stuff, and we're so passionate about it. We're not writing a movie to get a paycheck. And I'm not just discovering this character because I was hired to write this movie. Now I have to do a deep dive to learn about this character. Like we live and breathe.
Well, even then, doing the deep dive makes the difference because you go and like look at this She-Hulk showrunner who did that. She's like, I didn't read these. Like, no shit, you didn't read them. We saw what you put out,
and that shit was fucking trash.
Yeah, I think the prevailing thought now is that he meant he meant to get whooped like that so he can go deeper into the quantum realm and gain something extra. From what I understand, the rumors are that he went somewhere now to get the powers of the Beyonder. They're gonna amalgamate those two characters together.
Amalgamate,
and then
preeminent.
And then they're gonna have that's how they're gonna tackle Secret Wars.
My man, you really have been reading the dictionary today, haven't you?
No, I read comic books. I read comic books since I was a kid.
Oh shit! No, I agree. I agree with Rick. Yeah, I think his whole life is a cycle. So he's done this before. Hopefully, it just pays off that way.
Or
the last we've seen of him, that's like fucking dumb.
Or it doesn't pay off at all, and then Mark's been right the whole time. So
I have
a cycle because he definitely says he asks Ant-Man, "Have I killed you before?"
Yeah, so it's all cyclical.
Are you the one with the hammer?
Are you the one with the hammer? Like how that line, like he had lines that really established him and how dangerous he is to remember Thor not by name and barely at all. Just are you the one with the hammer?
But then he knew
being as powerful as he is, and to be not even barely an afterthought in this guy's mind.
He knew his name was Ant-Man after that. How was that?
I don't know. Yeah, one thing
body types.
I talked to Paul about this. Y'all know when Hank put his hands into the squishy things to drive the ship? If you like, I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but there's a scene like, how scenes move fast, like 1 to 2 seconds at best. There's a scene where they didn't CGI those things, and he just has little plastic tubes on his hand.
For real?
See, that's why I said, like, now I get that they gave ILM some freedom to make the quantum realm look however they want. But it wasn't believable to me. Like when we watched Winter Soldier and we had 2 helicarriers coming down into Washington, D.C., like it looked real. Like you thought, like, like get out of the way. Like shit's about to get really bad. And like it just looked like the Wizard of Oz from 1938, 39, whatever. It was just
don't shit on the Wizard of Oz.
No, I'm just saying, like look how far they've come. Well, the fact is they haven't come that far because it was similar to when Dorothy opened up the door into Oz.
Yeah, that's still magical.
And shout out to Taylor Winder when Cassie was just like, "Don't be a dick." Immediately thought of Taylor Winder.
Yes, I hope Taylor lawyers up.
What y'all think of the post-credit stingers? We had the one of just the Council of Kangs, which for one, I thought it was super weird. We see a whole Coliseum filled with Kang variants, but we focus on just 3 of them, which is like the Egyptian one, the other one, and the other one. But then when it actually shows you a close-up of the Coliseum ones, they're literally acting like de-evolved humans, just making grunting noises and flailing their hands around. Like, I thought that was weird as shit and didn't know what was happening all of a sudden.
I didn't think much of them because of the worst was defeated by Ant-Man.
Yeah, that was a little bit of fan service from that Avengers issue.
Mm-hmm. But, it was a straight up panel swipe.
Make much sense to me.
Yeah,
give you an excitement for Loki when we got that second one, and you have Loki and Owen Wilson's character back sitting in the past watching this other variant?
Mm-hmm. That gave me more excitement than the previous Stinger, only because hopefully now Jonathan Majors will be in the Loki show as maybe a recurring character and not just like a one-off like the last season. So I enjoyed that one. The first Stinger, I didn't know how to respond to it. Like I was just like, okay.
And for context, in like that newest little Kang mini series, we saw Kang the Conqueror go get a younger version of himself and try to teach him and this and that. And the younger version ended up killing Kang the Conqueror and becoming Kang the Conqueror. So I'm wondering if, like in the Loki show, we're going to get this. This is my little thought that the one in the Loki show is about to be Kang the Conqueror, because it's not like there's just one. Like there might be just one right now, but at any minute, the next one can take that mantle and get that mindset and start wreaking havoc.
Yeah, and that Kang series was phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like I'm to the point now where I'm so I'm so cynical. Like I kind of hope with the thinnest of thread that it's going to be good, but I kind of feel that it's not going to be. Like I don't think it's ever going to live up to my expectation from the comics or where I foresee it to go. It'll never do that.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I also share that cynicism. For me, like we're never ever going to get an Infinity War or an Endgame, so you just have to live with that. Obviously, I don't want something terrible, but I know they'll never ever reach that peak ever again.
If I would have invited Beckerman and he would have come on the show, he would be saying the same, because I talked to him at length about this movie. He saw it Thursday night and everything. He would be saying the MCU desperately needs a reboot. Just reboot it. And I could not agree more. I'm trying to agree more, but I can't, because that's how much I already agree. This shit's ran its course. Like movies can still be fun, but we're never going to hit anything close to what we've seen before. So why are we still spinning our tires?
Okay, so you have the chance to do that. Do you bring back the Avengers again?
Absolutely. Absolutely you do. I think that you just go back and you take it a lot slower. I think you started off with the Invaders. I think you should bring in like Toro, Namor proper, Captain America, like legit set a movie in World War II. Do like some like hardcore stuff like that for a little while, and like just so it could be different, like stylize it and everything like you'd see like a normal war movie. That would be nuts. Don't try to do the same formula of all these individual movies. You've done that. Now people know these characters. Show them a different light of them. Show them like, and don't even necessarily connect them all, like run some different franchises doing different stuff, small, like don't try to save the galaxy, try to save this city over here. And, you have characters like, in terms of like just referencing DC, like how you have the JSA, they ran dark, you know what I'm saying? They weren't on Front Street like the Justice League. You can run a Justice League franchise and a JSA franchise and no one's none the wiser. You can do that same kind of shit with Marvel.
I think the reboot is coming. I think Secret Wars is going to be. I think it's going to be Hickman's Secret Wars. It's not going to be Jim Shooter's Secret Wars. I think with Deadpool and Wolverine on the horizon, I think that we're going to have different universes collide into each other, and you're going to have different characters walk out of it, and it could be even different variants of characters that are there. I think the reboot is coming without it actually looking like a reboot.
Here's a good one from Weird Science Comics. What's happening? He says, Kang is so timey-wimey that it seems at times like he killed himself to kill himself to make sure he kills himself before he kills himself.
To make sure he kills himself.
Yeah, facts.
It's poetry.
Paul, where do you stand on the current slate of the Disney superhero stuff? And
I think that part of the problem, I think, is that they don't really have any of the big guns that they can use right now. Okay. And so if I were them, what I would have done is when I knew I was buying Fox, I would have fast tracked a Fantastic Four and an X-Men to get them out there as quickly as possible. And then when you have those two movies, then I agree with you that you can reboot some of those other characters if you want to, and you give it a little bit more time between them two because you have the Fantastic Four and the X-Men to take the place of the big, Thor and Captain America and Iron Man that you had at the beginning of the first one.
You think they might be wanting to push that back and save those for after Secret War when they have more flexibility with this universe, and that gives them the ability to bring those characters back, potentially even with different actors and stuff, if you do it post Secret Wars. But you need Fantastic Four for Secret Wars because that's going to be Doom Reed centric, right?
Right.
You got it.
It's supposed to be. But let me ask you a question. If that supposed stinger came out, all right, let's say Kang throws Scott into space, and it seems like Scott's dead, and all of a sudden you see a fantastic car. You don't have to see anybody. You just see the four at the bottom of the vehicle, and you see the
saves the movie, Nick. It saves the whole movie.
See the Hemi. You see, it's got a Hemi.
Or you see a little, a guy in flames go pick him up in space. Does that save the whole movie? Does that give you tingles?
No, it wouldn't for me.
Only if a little Herbie guy comes out.
Yes.
Come on, man.
For me, it's like being shoehorned in. It's like I want them to be introduced like the proper way in a standalone film first. I think going back to Paul, like you were saying, them not having the big guns, I don't think that's necessarily the issue. The issue right now is the writing. The writing is piss poor. The directing is like phoned in. If they Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, they're household names now because the writing of that movie was so well done. I think they could do that with any character. They just need to get back to what put them on the map, and that was good writing, good directing, and good storytelling.
That's also what took them off the map, because if going back to Guardians, that was the stake in the ground. They saw the response and the reaction to that, which they had, that was just unbelievable to them, that these unknown characters in such a space opera comedy style movie could just deliver what it did. They washed the entire MCU with it.
Yeah, it's a tough thing because now they have the formula that makes them money.
So they're slowly losing them money, though. Look at last year's numbers.
I don't know, man. Spider-Man was what, the third highest grossing movie of all time?
No, no.
I guess fourth as of today.
No, Titanic is fourth as of today. It made over $1 billion. It did make over $1 billion.
Like they're still generating money. And the thing is, the Ant-Man movies before that weren't $1 billion films. They cleared 500 million, and they were fine with it.
Well, you got to look at their model too, which is one reason why Chapek is out, because Thor: Love and Thunder did over 700 million at the box office, and they didn't turn a profit on it because of everything that went into it, from the cost of the film, the marketing that they did, and then when you subtract out what the theaters get to keep, they actually maybe broke even, maybe made a couple bucks, or maybe lost a couple bucks. They're actually teetering on that. So they have a formula to get people to go see the shit, but that formula is costing them too much. That's why, like Paul pointed out, what they're putting into these projects, they're not getting back out of it despite seeing these numbers. So Spider-Man making over $1 billion, they definitely saw a profit. Now imagine what they would have made on it if they didn't have that self-sabotaging formula that they had under his leadership.
Well, the asterisk beside Spider-Man is it's just Spider-Man. And Spider-Man, let's be honest, every time there's a Spider-Man movie, we need to separate it. But if we're going to talk box office from everything else, just because he's the damn franchise, right? So,
people going to turn up for Spider-Man.
That's just it, right? People show up for Spider-Man that don't show up for Doctor Strange, that don't show up for Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Dr. Von Hoot, his comment, it's wrestling booking 101. You need to book a character well, and you can get anything over 100%.
And I thought they booked Kang, but they
didn't. They says they need to go back to sleep and stop worrying about being woke. And I know that is a loaded term for a lot of people out there, but there's a huge truth to that. No matter loaded, that's a reference, and we'll get to that in a second. So that right there, Disney did lean into put it like straightforward. They're playing heavily to the left. They're playing very heavily to the left. A lot of their employees are very outspoken, and they are. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, except when you're running a business and that's actually costing you money, because you have an entire part of your previous audience that now is not just no longer supporting you. They're actively on social media, sharing their responses, their grievances, and you can actually go check. It's an insane amount of people that do not get down with Disney because of them doing things like that. And some people say, oh, it's just representation. Oh, it's just, there is a difference. Like representation has always mattered with Disney. It's always mattered with Marvel, and it's never been a problem in the past. So what has changed? Like, it's not just simply them. It's not inclusion anymore. It's gone inclusion plus. And Ant-Man was a prime example of it, where, like I pointed out, there were some things that just stood out that hit you over the head. And I read comic books that hit you over the head all the time. And there's two kinds of them, ones that are good and ones that aren't. It's all about the writing and the delivery. You can get a proper message across, or you can be preachy. You know, if you have to explain your metaphors, you're no longer writing well. You're just being a preachy little bitch. And that's what happened in Ant-Man. You had Cassie being a little activist fighting the police, which is a hot topic in today's society. You know, that splits people down the line. And she got locked up for fighting the police over taking down a homeless person tent in a public park. Nobody agrees with like homeless people having to struggle, but you also can't like set up tent cities in public parks, you know, like that's so like they're already making touchy, like divisive content there. You have Cassie using
socialism.
You have Cassie literally hitting a quote that's directly associated with a very divisive movement currently happening, where she says, just because it's not happening to you doesn't mean it's not happening. Like, and it felt out of place and shoehorned in there. And then the lady, like, they stopped being coy. You had Hank Pym stop what the hell he was doing, look straight at his daughter and Scott and say, you know, socialism's a loaded word, but we can learn a lot from them. So Disney's not even playing anymore. All the stuff that people are complaining about, saying that we're seeing through your bullshit, we see what you're doing, and everyone's saying, no, you're a conspiracy. No, they're telling you this is what we're doing, and we don't care about playing anymore. So all that shit was there, like front and center, and you're losing an audience doing that. Like it was kind of pathetic writing in those scenes. It was really bad.
It was the globalists.
Yeah. It was lazy writing. And that we say the same thing. Me and Paul like have gone through comics recently on the DC deep dive we do, like where we're like, dude, why did they, instead of writing a story about this event that they're writing, they decided to just beat us over the head for an issue? Like there's slick ways to do it where you're getting a message across, like how Stan Lee did the X-Men, talking about equality amongst human beings. You know, he didn't sit there and point out real world stuff like it's supposed to be its own world. No, there's a difference between woke and see, like people who get offended by that always try to do false comparisons and fallacies all day long, trying just to tie it back in. No, Cap wasn't woke for punching Hitler. That was political at the time, but it definitely wasn't woke. That's definitely a loaded word these days.
Just don't be a dick.
Yeah, just don't be a dick.
One question for the panel.
Never too late to stop being a dick.
Never.
Not to steal Mark's thunder, but at the final scenes with Scott walking down the street, having those moments of crisis, like, but is he? And did you all expect him to actually show up, or the sky to turn color kind of thing? Like,
yes.
Like they really had the opportunity to do something
for a second. Describe that scene for a second.
So they basically mirror the beginning of the movie where Scott's walking around enjoying being a celebrity on the streets of San Francisco. This time it's happening again, but he's having these moments of crisis where he stops and he's thinking, did we really defeat Kang? Is he really gone? And then he'd walk along happy, and then he'd stop again. And another moment of crisis concerning Kang, and you can see him like physically looking up and being a little like for a moment of terror. And like they really had the opportunity then at least to like black out the film to end it noir, where the sky was starting to change color, like
I thought when he took a bite of the cake and he was like oh, and I thought the whole thing was going to devolve.
What did he do?
Yeah, I thought something was going to happen there too, Nick. It just felt like we're just on eggshells for a minute at the end.
It's funny because
I open the cake and his power source be there or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't think anything was gonna happen. It's just weird. I guess in my theater, like the check comes literally 20 minutes exactly before the movie's gonna end. So I already had my check for like 18 minutes. So I guess I was just waiting for it to be over.
No,
I think I saw a few people's reviews and takes on it. How I mentioned earlier, they kept saying, well, this is one that we can go back to when we get more of the phase story, when it all starts playing out through multiple movies. We'll revisit and look for other stuff. So I was looking for stuff like that, and there was none. There was none by the end of it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of missed opportunities, but still overall an enjoyable movie. And it's like, we'll see, but I think we're getting tired of the we'll see attitude.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they need to get back to doing fantastic standalone films, connected here, there, this, that. But I want to see a good film, not have to see 3 films down the line for this one to pay off.
Paul, you got any final thoughts? Nope. Chris, you got any final thoughts?
No.
Nope. Paul, anything else? So that's pretty much it. Unless y'all got anything else on Ant-Man.
Bring back the Russo brothers. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what, too? If you keep... That's my thing. If you reboot and start with the Avengers, you can have that whole camp of like, this again?
Yeah, you're not going to win.
Well, as a Spider-Man fan, don't reboot.
You can't win.
It gets old, man, really quick.
I love the Amazing Spider-Man. But you got to think about, like, how long have we had the MCU now? Like 20 years?
12 years? Right? 12, 13 years?
No, 2008, my bad.
Yeah, so that's already more than an entire generation difference from the start of it to now. Like you can do whatever you want at this point. Kill it with fire. Start with the X-Men, like Paul said.
Secret Wars may be that soft reboot coming.
Hopefully, it's not a reboot. Hopefully, it's a finale. Like, how can they not picture a finale to all of this? Like, if they burn through 60 years in a decade, how can you not have a finale in mind?
And didn't in that Secret Wars, the second one, didn't the universe end or some shit? Or am I bugging?
The Hickman one or the Beyonder one?
The Hickman one.
The Hickman one relaunched Marvel Comics. Yeah, Marvel Now.
Yeah. Oh God!
No, we
don't need that.
Yeah, I would make it a finale. Hold off on the X-Men. Hold off on Fantastic Four. You don't need Fantastic Four in it. Introduce them proper after. Like once we close this chapter of the MCU, now let's bring in the Fox properties.
Start with the Marvel's first family. Kick off an entire fresh universe with it.
Agree.
We got the Young Avengers. Let them go deal with this Secret War. Start with the Marvel's first family, and then do an OG Secret War. Black Suit Spidey, all that stuff. Hulk holding up the mountain.
The Young Avengers will fight the bad guys with their tears.
Mm-hmm. Callie wants infamous Iron Man. Let's see. There's no finale. Comics never have finales. It's all crises. And that, I think you missed the point. A finale to the MCU's current timeline. This current timeline.
It's Taylor being Taylor.
He has a point, but that's in comics. This is not the same medium. Not the same medium. You got to think, what if you decide you're 12-year-old, you're starting to notice these superheroes. You're like, dude, I want to check these out. And you're like, let me go see what I need to watch. And you're like, oh, I have to watch all this shit?
Mm-hmm.
No way in hell. There's just like in comics, they're losing a jumping on point.
Kids may enjoy this movie, man. There was a lot of characters that were goofy and silly, like Space Jam meets Ant-Man.
Meaning not the same, Taylor. Exactly. Yeah. We're on the same page. They're building to the Thunderbolts versus the new Avengers. Yeah, we know we got Thunder. God, there's a lot coming, man. I wonder how many of them are going to get the axe. The inevitable pushback.
Yeah, I would think.
Y'all think we'll still get a Blade movie?
I think so.
Yeah.
Who knows at this point?
See, that was one of the things that I think me and Paul were talking about it, seeing the creators involved, the actual talent involved, saying, no, this is shit. I don't want to be attached to this if this is what you're doing. No. And them saying, the director saying, I'm out, and them having to bring people in, and then your absolute star of the film saying, I'm not doing that. I'm not attaching my name to that. That's trash. And then all right, we'll push it back. We'll rework it. that's next level bad. You know what I mean? When they're like, the check isn't validating me putting my performance into that. That's crazy to think.
And a Blade movie can open up a whole new stream of revenue for like a R-rated. Come on, Disney, stop being a bitch.
Like, yeah, I get you say that, but what's going to be worse, the Blade Disney or Deadpool Disney? Like,
I'm excited for Deadpool. They promised that it's going to be R, right?
I have literally no faith in that movie. I'm saying it right now. Fuck that movie. I have zero interest in it.
It seems like a fan service delight for me, man.
Not me. Preeminently, amalgamation, all those other words that Nick said. I have zero interest in that movie.
I would think that they would do Blade because, to DJ's point, I think it opens up a part of the DC universe that we haven't seen yet. You know, except for maybe part of the Werewolf by Night, but the horror type thing, you know, that's a part of the DC universe that we really haven't seen. So I could picture. I would not be surprised if that one was still going forward.
If Deadpool has the same people attached to it, I just picture them like, in my mind. I mean, I could be very wrong because this is under Disney now, but in my mind, they're just making a Deadpool 3 has not jack shit to do with anything else. It's just a Deadpool. And if they have the same director attached to it, and like,
no, I could see them including all these forced jokes. Is like, oh man, you can't say that. Disney owns us now. Ha ha. And it's like, chill, man.
But I mean, in the end, that one is giving us something we've been waiting for, and that's Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds together.
Hell yeah! So like, I'm big excited for that. I just love the Deadpool movies.
I'm good.
All right, well, we're going to get off DJ's lawn and wrap up the Ant-Man talk. Paul, Chris, did y'all want to do any books tonight, or y'all want to save them for next week? Watch The Last of Us.
Green Hell.
Did anyone else get the opportunity to read Green Hell? So Swamp Thing, Green Hell from Jeff Lemire is back. DJ, don't make the stink face. You need to go back.
Oh, no, I literally have it right here.
Okay.
I just haven't read it.
Oh,
normally when we
early
say
candidate
Green
for
Hell,
Book of the Year.
And when we say Green Hell, we're talking about the shit show that is Donny Cates' Hulk run, but we finally get the proper Green Hell back with Jeff Lemire and the amazing Doug Mahnke.
Did that hit Unlimited yet?
No, it came out this week. Green Hell #1 might be there. They might have held it back because it did have a 1-year delay from the first to second, and it wasn't just this title. It was Lemire titles across the board through publishers and stuff because he had other obligations that ended up happening, and it became a big stink, as well as a Substack walkout almost with a lot of creators. Like, I mean, that isn't what it was, but it's almost on the surface what it looked like with how many people were leaving publishers to go do Substack work. But it's back. We're back.
Talk about it for an hour. I'll come back. I'll spoil the Last of Us for you guys, and
no, we'll be out of here by then. Chris, you want to? DJ, you want to stay and talk comic books, get them spoiled, or you want to wait till you read them?
Yeah, I'm going to wait till I read them. I got this giant stack. This is my reading stack. Boom, that I was sitting here right before
I was a good week. Next week's even bigger.
That's what she said. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciated sharing the screen with you. Mark, thank you for having me. Chat, love you guys. Later.
Same, I'm out too. Mark, Chris, Paul, thanks for having me. Mr. Nick's Kicks and Comics.
DJ, Nick,
you're dreaming.
Love to the night.
I'll see you backstage, Nick.
Come to bed.
Oh shit! I'm out.
Wow. Woke.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Mugshot mode. Mugshot mode.
Oh.
Oh, nice. So it is on Ultra. The first issue. The second issue, it'll be a month before it gets out there.
Yes.
So yeah. Oh wait, let me.
Not to say that I forgot how good Doug Mahnke was, but oh my god, he just reached out of the book and like, did you forget about me?
Yeah, so I didn't forget about Doug Mahnke because I talked to Beckerman a lot. You know, he's always talking artists. That's his thing. And he's been helping 4C Comics out a lot with hosting shows here on YouTube. 4C is not a comic shop. They are now what's a better word for it? But they're a handler for artists, almost like agents, you know. So they've got like Shooter, Mankey, Stanton. They've got tons of people that they artist rep. They're the
Doug
artist
Mank-
representatives,
Doug
a third
Mankey
party
used
representative.
Yeah, Doug Mankey used to share a studio with Patrick Gleason. I don't know if he still does or not, but they used to share a studio.
Yeah, well, Doug Mankey's going to be coming up on 4Cs here in the next 2 weeks, and they do a live show. I believe it's on Tuesday nights here on YouTube, and it's fun just to hang out and just even if you're not going to buy stuff, and they try to do little games to help you get discounts on pieces and stuff like that. So if you are a fan of Doug Mankey's art, be sure to check out. It's just the number 4, then the letter C, 4C Comics here on YouTube, and their icon, you'll know you found it because it almost looks like an homage to Fantastic Four. It's the white and blue. So definitely check them out because Doug Mankey is fantastic, and he's not doing a lot of. I think they announced he's not going to be doing any cons this year due to other obligations and stuff. But when he gets angry, he becomes Doug Primate. All right, y'all want to talk on this? So just a little recap because it's been a year since issue 1's come out. This is a DC Black Label prestige format. It's Elseworlds, which means it falls under its own timeline. It's not directly connected to any other story or continuity. You can pick up issue 1 and read it from there and be in the
freedom.
You can be right where everyone else is. So the whole plot to this, it's post-apocalyptic future. Pretty much the whole world's flooded. There's only a small piece of land. Only a little bit of humankind remains. And the Parliament, which is the supernatural representation of plant life, animal life, and decay or rot, which you have the green, the red, and the gray. So the Parliament has convened and decided that even with this little bit of mankind left, it's not worth it. They want to cleanse the world of it. And we saw that attack break out. We saw like how even humans aren't really working together. You have different little groups of them out there battling, and pretty much the Parliament sicks the green on the remaining pieces of humankind. We get a couple of wayward humans take off for refuge, and they go to this old man who has his own little island and lighthouse, and it's none other than John Constantine. Explain what's going on to him, and he decides that he's going to go get a piece of the green that he believes can help them. And that's where we pick up this issue, and it goes from there. Chris, you want to take it?
Yeah, it's the return of Alec, and we get to see Alec in what I kind of consider he's in his own pocket heaven. He's there with his family. He's there with his wife. He's there with his daughter. Even though he's still Swamp Thing, he's there, and the family is welcoming to him in this form. So you know that whatever he's feeling, whatever he's seeing, it's just on an emotional level, just on a separate plane from where he is. And then one of my all-time favorite characters, John Constantine, just walks in and blows the hell out of everything. Just takes him away from that, and he's not ready to go. Let me tell you, he is not ready to go. Picks him up, drops him off, gives him a quick explanation on what's happening and that he's needed for a higher purpose. And Alec is obviously like, nope, I don't care. I'm good. I think he literally says, I'm good.
Yeah, send me back to the green. I'm happy where I am. I don't want no part of this world anymore.
And Constantine literally is like, tries to explain, like, this is what's happening. Like, you're literally the last hope that we have to try and hold them off, to stop them, the whole 9 yards. So then it's just that classic representation of Swamp Thing standing up for what's right. And, you know, if you've ever read classic Swamp Thing, or even the Swamp Thing that we've had in the last 15 years, you know that he's like one of the lights in the world. He's one of the bright lights that represents everything that's good in the world, even though he's often, and in this book, properly labeled as a monster. It's just that just every page is almost like a delicacy. It's just so well done. It's not rushed. The overall story is not rushed. You can pick this book up without reading the first one and enjoy it from front to back. The artwork is incredible. Like you quickly get to realize that the planet is in such dire shape that Constantine is literally plucking someone out of their own personal Idaho, if you want to look at it that way, from their own personal heaven to help save the world. And Constantine, Lemire did not change Constantine whatsoever. He's a prick. He's that dick that you don't like. That, and you know, they got old man Constantine, and that's something that I enjoy about this. They don't have him as modern day or whatever. He's fully grayed out. He's larger than what he normally is. He's carrying some weight.
He went full Travolta. You know, you hit that age, you just blow.
He went full Steven Seagal there. Yeah, he's
exactly. Paul, what
sorry.
I loved it, and you're right. I mean, he writes Constantine. You know, I think there's one line in there where they talks about he can count the number of people that trust him on one finger, and I don't have to tell you what finger it is. You know, but then the artwork was just so incredible, and you know to me it's also 2 words. I'll give you 2 words, and I know TM Nerdy would love these 2 words too. Animal Woman. You know, that's where the issue ends. So we're gonna see Animal Woman next issue, as you know, she is apparently the one who is in charge of the Red now, and so she'll be teaming up with Alec in the next issue. It's just a great concept too. You know, like that the Parliament all kind of just decide that it's time to just start the world anew, and it just can't say enough good things about it.
There's a couple of key plot points for this issue. Was of course Chris touched on it. They pulled Swamp Thing out of the green to wage this war against the Parliament, because it's the Parliament that's waging this war, and this is the only person Constantine can know that can go convene with him, and he does. He goes down into the green and he talks to the Parliament, and they don't listen. They say, no, we're not stopping. This is it. The gray, the green seem to be teamed up on this, as well as with the red, so they're all in complete agreement that this has to happen. Swamp Thing tells him that he's going to push back against this. He sees humanity in these few survivors, and he can't stand to watch it go. So they strip him to the best of their ability of his powers. You know, like they add stakes to this book where Swamp Thing is pretty much immortal. You cannot kill him. You can do whatever you want to him, but it's an essence that's tied to the spiritual aspect of our planet. You cannot eradicate that. So they take away his ability to do anything more than what he can physically do standing there. So we now have a Swamp Thing. When he takes damage, it's not regenerating. If he dies, he's done. He has one shot at this. So I thought that was cool that they added these stakes. And I'm immediately wondering, how is he going to pull this off against the entirety of the army the Parliament's throwing at him? About that time, we turn the page and we see Constantine, as always, written perfect, like y'all said. He didn't just go get Swamp Thing. He's already on to step 2 of his plan that no one else knows what he's doing. And he's convening with Deadman, Boston Brand, asking for directions to you-know-who.
Did not see that coming. When I turned the page and it went white and we had the skulls there and Deadman upside down, I literally like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What? Who? How is this going to tie into it? And sure enough, a Deadman again is giving him attitude. Like two guys that you don't really want to see have a conversation because of the sarcasm that's flowing back and forth. And that's exactly what happens.
And it says also it's promised that Swamp Thing won't get his paradise when he dies. So he's laying everything on the line. So he gets the direction he needs from Boston, and he heads out. We don't know who he's going to, but he shows up on a small little patch of land that's guarded by all kinds of wildlife. And there's a human there defending it, and he just shrugs him off. I'm not here to fight, blah, blah, blah. Let me talk to her. And we go in, and it was none other than Animal Woman. So Constantine's getting all the avatars that he knows and trying to get them into the fight. So it's going to pretty much be like avatars against the Parliament. Y'all, I'm wishing and hoping that they drag Grundy into the next issue. We've got Swamp Thing, we've got Animal Woman, we need Grundy. And there's your muscle.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be dope if we get, because if you got the 2 of them, you got to have someone representing the gray, because they're all in this together. But yeah, I'm big excited for it. I don't remember if it's only 3 issues or if it will go beyond.
It's only 3.
Oh, so I doubt that we'll get a Grundy in it unless we get just like some kind of pop-up, go out swinging. Because I don't know if they're going to want to kill Swamp Thing or they're going to want to kill Animal Woman. But these Black Label books, they they lean into nobody is safe. It's an Elseworld, so you can't assume, oh, he's got to be here for the next story. No, they don't, because this is the story. This is it. And the prestige format of these, I absolutely love how they do the prestige. It lends so heavily to the artist, and especially in this case with Doug Mankey's interiors, phenomenal.
Yeah, I often come on this channel. Sometimes I feel like I have to defend Marvel just because I grew up preferring Marvel over DC, but Marvel could learn something here. I've said this on this channel before. Marvel could seriously learn something from DC's Black Label. Give the writer freedom. You don't have to badge it as a what if, but it just come up with an interesting brand name and give certain writers and certain artists free will to do what they want. It doesn't necessarily have to be an A-list or B-list character. Like, as much as the three of us enjoy Swamp Thing, I'm not going to sit here and say Swamp Thing is an A-list character, because he's not. But some of the best stories that have ever been told in the last 30, 40 years have come from Swamp Thing books.
But he's another one of those ones
that there's something to be said about
he's
that.
He's not necessarily a household name, but he's been in people's households for decades, between like 2 live action movies, 2 separate television shows, an animated TV show, toy lines. Like, he's just one of those characters that, despite him not being the Trinity, he's just always been there in more than just book form.
Yeah. And
he's always been a fascinating character. People are always drawn to him.
I'm glad that Lemire hasn't decided to tap into any other superheroes. Like, there's no metahumans here, nothing like that. It's just literally Constantine and Swamp Thing, and now we have an avatar of Animal Woman, and Deadman is obviously somewhere in between all that. But yeah, there's no talk of what happened to the Justice League, JSA, Batman, Superman, nothing.
Nope, not water.
This book does not need that. It doesn't need any of that. Exactly what the villains are that we have, that's fine. And like, if Mark is saying, okay, that maybe the big twist will be Grundy is part of the final boss kind of thing, representing the Gray, so be it. But it'll be Swamp Thing that's the last man standing, representing the light of the world. And now I do expect some of the humans that are behind Swamp Thing there when he's taking on that army to charge forward. I expect some of that to happen in typical Lemire writing, but we'll see. Right now, to me, pound for pound, this is the best book, or the best standalone issue that we've had for 2023 so far. I get that we're only 7-8 weeks into this, but when we do an at year's end, I'm sure one of us of the three will mention Swamp Thing Green Hell, just like what we did last year when the first issue came out. That Swamp Thing Green Hell was just incredible.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah,
I do.
10 out of 10.
So I do want to point out, I did pick up this book from Aftershock Comics. I've been grabbing these every time they do one. I don't add them to my pool because I never know far enough in advance. But they've been doing prestige format one shots, like Hell is a Squared Circle,
that was
Spectrum,
really good.
and I've been loving them. And so this is the newest one, A Foulness in the Walls by Cullen Bunn, who's definitely a well-respected writer who does more of like the twisty horror stuff. From what I know, I'm not too familiar with a lot of his stuff, but I hear his name regularly. Interiors by Rodrigo Zayas. I have not had a chance to read it yet, but I do suggest, like, just on face value, giving these things a shot if you like more off the wall, kind of just run of the mill one shotty kind of stuff as well. Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, they're only like $1 more, really, or $2 at the most, or whatever, than a regular comic too. So, and you get, like you said, the art is really kind of, front and center.
Yeah, the artwork, even in this one, is fantastic. The prestige format just really,
it lends itself to the artwork. Now, not all of the Black Label stuff have been home runs. Like, let's be honest. But my God, the Swamp Thing one has been just terrific. I think
Birds of Prey was the only one
good at all.
Oh God, I think that's the only one outside of that Birds of Prey one, because it just looked like a cartoon. Yeah. I didn't even get that one. And
one of the earlier ones,
I bailed.
That was good.
I bailed so fast on that one. I'm like, nope, Jock is not a writer.
No.
So y'all want to? I hope to God y'all read this, but did y'all get a chance to read 8 Billion Genies, second to last issue, number 7? This one went wild.
Yeah, 80 years in the future, is it not? That's
80 years.
Yeah.
Paul, did you get an opportunity to read this
I did
one?
not, but go ahead.
That's kind of a shame because it's like you choose that put me onto this book. But it was wild. I'll be honest with you. I feel like it was rushed. It definitely felt rushed compared to the other ones. It felt like they were tying up loose ends, and the story pretty much ends with this issue. And we can touch on that kind of at the last page when we get there. But this issue just sees all of your characters all over the place. You kind of get some time jumps. Of course, you get weird stuff all the way through it. You see the husband and wife who had the kid who has that genie that you see them make it to a safe haven, a different one. And in this safe haven, it's already been wished and set up that kids are not able to use their wishes until they're of the age, which is designated at 25. So then we get the little age jump at that point, and we get to see them and when they get a little bit older. But we also see the what's his name, the whatever man who everyone has everyone believing in him. We see where these safe havens are now at a point where they're waging war with each other, and we see like an onslaught genie battle where like just genies come crashing in, and he's having to expire all of his genies to cancel them out. And it gets down to the point where our main star, that little kid who wished himself to be a superhero to keep his parents safe, his dad from old age dies of a heart attack. So his wife, who was a wish manifested, she knows she's on borrowed time, so she runs to her son, having lived the rest of their life in this safe haven with the wishing man or whatever his name is, tells him, "Hey, your dad died." And he's like, "Oh no." She slaps him in the face. "Snap out of it, because now I'm going to be honest with you. This place is a trap. This guy is a psycho. Never said anything now because we're all together and we were all safe. But you're more than this. You're more than his weapon. You're more than you. Your job was to protect us. You did it. Now protect yourself. Get the hell out of here." And long story short, he ends up grabbing the wishing man or whoever and flies him out into space. And when he only has one wish left, it has this nice little talk with him. He's like, I'm of the assumption that you've had so many wishes for so long that you can't live without him, that you won't even use this last wish to save yourself. And he throws him out into space. And he was right, because the dude held back until the very last second. And by that point, there wasn't even enough oxygen in the air to utter the wish. And he ends up flying into the moon and getting eaten by the moon. It was pretty interesting. During this onslaught, we saw the husband and wife that we followed from issue 1. They both die in this onslaught, leaving their adult daughter alone. But she ends up linking up with the superhero kid, and we see them live their entire life out and die of old age, except for that one girl who's now an adult with her wish, who flies off on a Pegasus unicorn, and that's how it ends. And saying that we have one issue left. Join us for the first 8 centuries. So it's about to just be like a send-off issue to this little girl, I guess. It got really weird. It was really fun. And I really felt like they could have ended with that, like her flying off on the Pegasus. I don't know if I need 8 centuries. Every character that we followed is now dead, except for that little girl. From old age, happy endings, sad endings, defending their family like they always wanted to. But it was interesting. I definitely appreciate y'all putting me onto that book. I'll probably end up taking the whole run and just offloading it on Pop's Attic. Not something I need to keep in the PC, but well worth the read.
Yeah, it was. It's been a fun go.
There
The idea, man. Yeah, Floyd. It's been a fun go. I like the idea of each issue having factor in a unit of time relevant to the number 8. I kind of thought exactly the same thing. The world is so messed up with all these damn wishes and everything that her flying off on a Pegasus away from a whale with a house on its back in the sky. I was just like, this is what happens when humanity wishes. I like the fact that we get to see different things evolve in this particular issue. Like Mark talked about, that children cannot use their wish now until they're 25. Like, I like that there's that someone put that in as their wish. Like, Charles Soule really hit the ball out of the park. This was one of the most original ideas that we've had in the last 365 days when it comes to this medium. It was a lot of fun. The artwork, I think I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Ryan Brown when it comes to the interiors that are here, but it
Which
suits the
Ryan
story.
Brown?
This
Because there's like 15 of them. This is just Ryan Brown with an E.
right.
Right.
It's not Ryan K.
Ryan Brown with
Right.
an E.
Yeah. It's that's why it was on my top 3 last year. I thought that this issue is perfect for how it to end. I'm presuming the 8th issue will just kind of be just a far set epilogue at best. Just
Yeah.
what like
A weird romp. I mean,
we're
do you
gonna
need to do?
cash in one more and we're gonna go way off the rails. You think we're off the rails right now? Heads
Yeah.
up.
Heads
Heads up,
yeah,
we're going 8
exactly.
centuries into the future. But
It's
yeah,
about to
I
go
thought
down.
just it was so smart, starting at the bar and just going from there. And I like the fact that every issue they talk about the population of the planet versus the population of the genies and how they're both shrinking like at a very large cataclysm. Like it's not good what's happening here. It just shows that humanity can't necessarily handle this kind of thing. And
Absolutely
like I
not.
said, it's so smart. It was so well done. I enjoyed the campiness and the over the topness of it throughout the series. But yeah, just like Mark said it perfectly. This was the perfect issue for it to end, where we just essentially had just one character move away from the whole thing.
Yeah. Paul, what's one that you picked up for this week?
You guys read Danger Street?
Hell yes, I did.
Oh.
That was a phenomenal issue.
Yeah. It was called Metamorpho, although he is absent to the entire issue. But it touches
He was,
on
wasn't he? I didn't even think
yeah.
about it. His arm was present, wasn't
His
it?
arm was present at one point, yes, but that was it. Basically, it's still the mystery. It was basically he wrote it in the way he continues to write it is kind of almost like this fantasy type, fairy tale type narrative that's going on. We see part of the biggest thing is that I think happens in this issue is we see Metron who goes before Darkseid and the High Father.
Who are sitting side by side, by the way.
Exactly. And he basically is talking about the fact, that we don't have Atlas anymore to hold up the sky. And what happens is that Highfather and Darkseid believe that there is someone that they can put there to replace, although we aren't given the identity of who that is in this particular issue.
Yeah, Atlas's abilities have transcended to somebody else on Earth. We just don't know who.
Correct. We also have still the police lady still looking for Starman and Warlord. That continues to go on. They now have an actual. It's funny. I thought of you, Mark, when I was reading this because you finally get in an issue. You get Superman Blue. You get to see Superman Blue in one of the panels.
Yeah. I rolled my eyes in that. So what he's talking about, Lady Cop has been trying to solve the murder of one of the little kids that were at the scene in issue 1, and she has one witness who saw a couple of characters he didn't know. He was able to give a description. So she went and pulled photos for all known blue superheroes, which so she's showing him photos, and at one point he goes, "Why are you showing me photos of heroes?" Like, because she's assuming this person killed somebody. So why are you showing me photos of heroes? What, next you're going to show me a picture of Superman? And about that time, she pulls a photo of Superman Electric Blue, and they eventually hit. She now knows who her suspect is with Starman. So she's actually getting closer on the heels here. But that was an awesome little nod to Electric Blue Superman.
And basically we end up with we don't know who it is, but we come back around to Orion, who's being called back to
they're sending Orion to Earth, to find him,
right,
to find out who it could be. Which is, if you know Orion, this is going to go bad. It was fun. They were going down. Highfather and Darkseid were sitting there wondering who can we send? Who can we agree on to send to Earth to investigate who could potentially be on Earth with Atlas's responsibilities and powers unbeknownst to them? And they go down the list like, send Light Ray. No, he's too big of a pansy. Send Calibac. No, he'll just destroy everything and get nowhere. And they agree on Highfather finally says, well, let's send Orion. And Darkseid's like, hopefully he hasn't grown too soft over there with you. And you cut to Orion torturing somebody on New Genesis, and his dad calls. He's like, that's my dad. Don't you say a word or I'll smash your face on this rock. And he answers the call, talks to his dad, like, yeah, I'll be there in a second. And he hangs up. And the guy says, does this mean? And off the phone, and before the guy can finish the sentence, he smashes his face on the rock. I told you not to talk. Like, he's a psychopath, man. He's definitely got Darkseid in him big time. There was one thing I wanted to point out. Manhunter has made it to the city. We saw him get called in on an assignment. We saw him on assignment when he gets called in. We see who his target is, and it's the green team. He actually is set up sniper across the street from their building, and the green team's going to walk out, and his bodyguard, who I don't recognize that bodyguard, who it is, and they're playing it like it's a mystery. He has this costume that looks very reminiscent of the times of the 70s. I think Vigilante when I see it. But the green team's about to open the door, and the bodyguard says, stop. Something's out there. And he goes out there first, and Manhunter takes a shot at him, and the bullet just stops in front of him, just stops in midair. Then he flies up to the post where Manhunter was and investigates stuff. So we're seeing super abilities in this person. He's clearly a meta, and they're kind of hinting it like it's somebody. The green team even says, I know who you really are. I know your identity. I know you won't fail us. So they're hinting at there's going to be a twist to the identity of this character. And with it being Tom King, we know it's going to be somebody that we know just might not recognize in this capacity. So there's a lot of big things that happen in this. The Warlord and Starman are looking for help. They're reaching out to other people who have abilities that are asking a lot in return. They want help using Dr. Fate's helmet to bring this kid back to life, or Metamorpho. I'm not sure which one that they're necessarily talking about, because 2 people died that day, not counting Atlas.
Right.
He's asking for Warlord's sword as payment. So they're about to make things a whole lot worse, I feel. And I do want to touch on what Paul pointed out with how they're the narrator of this is Dr. Fate's helmet. Just his helmet sitting on a bar is narrating the story. He's using like a metaphor of knights and knights, dragons, and something else. But what knights, monsters, and dragons. And what's very interesting, they're reversed. Like the people he's calling the knights are like the people who have murdered people, who are running from the law. The people he's calling monsters are so far in this story not the bad guys. So it's kind of interesting seeing how the narrator is perceiving these characters. It's super interesting.
Yeah,
Very,
really
very good read. Artwork is phenomenal. Jorge Fornes on the interiors. Gorgeous cover. But Chris, you got another one?
That was it for me. I went through 8 Billion Genies. I wanted to do a deep dive into the new Iron Man book, but Swamp Thing Green Hell just took my time. I actually went through it twice.
Yeah, I didn't realize it, but I didn't pick that up. I missed it on it's on my pool list, but it wasn't in there. So I'm wondering if it was late or damaged or something. So I didn't get an opportunity to read that, but I'm still on that. Creeper is in Danger Street.
Yep.
Yeah. Who didn't have much of a play in this. All we really found out is that at his new job at the news station, he's running up the ratings. That's all we really found out. A quick little flash review here. I was behind on Batman Beyond the White Knight. I read issue 6, 7, and 8. And dude, this came back strong for me. Like, I really enjoyed this. The finale was great. All the Robins came together like butt cheeks with Batman, and they stormed Power's stronghold, held true to the values of the characters. Batman kind of relinquished some of the classic Batman tropes of not really accepting his family in. Some very personal moments with his Robins, which the dynamic is so different. J. Todd was the first one in this story. Nightwing came second. But the big kick at the end, when it was all said and done, FBI agent Prince and Stewart walked up addressing the calamity that occurred here. and saying that old Bruce Wayne is uniquely fit to potentially help them. There's bigger problems or potentially on the rise. There's this kid in Kansas who's clearly not from here. And she shows him a tablet, and it's a young Superman flying through the air. So the White Knight universe is just getting started. Batman was only the beginning. We got Jon Stewart, Diana Prince, and Superman all as the kicker at the back of this. I'm big excited. Unfortunately, the next installment's already announced is White Knight, the Jokers or something.
Generation Joker.
Generation Joker, where it's focusing on Jack's daughter, who's the weakest part of this whole story. And once again, it looks like Katana Collins will be doing this one. It is Sean Gordon Murphy's wife, so she is closely tied to it. She knows where it's going to go, but her last offering of the Harley Quinn one, though it added a lot of context once we got to this, it just wasn't necessarily fun going through. And I know Harley is kind of like the pivot point of what connects all of this, but I just don't care. I think I'm just ready for Superman. Give me that next proper installment. But I'm still all in on this universe. It's probably some of the most enjoyable Batman stuff that's out right now. The artwork is stellar. Dave Stewart does the colors, which is he's always great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that'll be called World's Finest White Knight.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. I'm still on issue 2, LL, of which one, Danger Street or White Knight? Thoughts on Gotham TV show coming? Won't know till it gets here and I see it. Won't know till I watch it. I'll give that first episode a shot, though. I think it's a waste, but who knows? We're past the Arrowverse stuff. It could be good. It's not tied to anything. It's its own original stuff with minor connections of comic book stuff in it, so who knows? But I thought she had twins. What happened to the other one? The other kid's fine. He's a well-behaved kid. It's the daughter, the older daughter who I guess has the age. Well, it's the daughter who's out running around dressing as her dad and resenting her mom and this and that. Yeah. It worked better. Like me reading it monthly, I kind of got bored with it because I wasn't just as in the middle of it. Kind of lags little, but those last few issues are just balls to the wall. Real quick, this was amazing. I feel weird saying that. There hasn't been issue, I think 6 I enjoyed, and this was amazing. Donny Cates has fallen off the map. We're not going to get into the who, wheres, or whys, but Ryan Ottley has been tasked with carrying this book to its conclusion. It was only a 14-issue run. Donny didn't make it through it all, and Ryan Ottley, the artist, had to pick up and start writing it from issue 11. So 12, 13, and 14 will be by him as well. He clearly has the plot points, having participated with Donnie from the start, and he did something with this that Donnie just never thought to do, and that was tell a freaking story. And he reached all the way in and just threw it all on the table in this issue. It was a blast. We found out that the starship attachments that are dumb as hell was not a choice of Bruce like it made its thing to begin with. The fragmenting of his mind to set it up like a spaceship was forced on him by somebody that he's not even doesn't even want to tell. He's keeping a secret. They tied back into stuff with Immortal Hulk with this issue. It was legit a good single issue comic book. They got me hyped for what's coming next. We got big involvement with Titan playing into this one as well, which people can say what they want about that, but the idea of when Bruce gets mad, he turns to Hulk. When Hulk gets mad, he turns to Titan. That's on par with Hulk storytelling. Like these deep corners of his mind, this and that, they're doing that. And he's grabbing that original story that should have been hinted at from the beginning and throwing it in fast right here. So there's a lot of little cliffhangers. There's a lot of mysteries now. There's a lot of stuff we want answers to. They spent time just really, really seeding the plot from here. Like this should have been seeded back in the beginning so that they can build on it and leave us wondering and leave us just baited for the run. But Cates didn't. He thought it was funner just to fly through people in hyperspace. It was dumb. But this was a fun issue. I'm pleased to be able to say that. That doesn't mean the next one will be, but this one was.
In May, they're having the Hulk annual, and what they have announced is that they haven't said who it is, but there's going to be a preview of the new Hulk creative team is going to be in the Hulk annual. But they haven't said who that's going to be.
Dude, there's no matter who it is, it's got to be better than what Cates did.
Well, yeah.
Well, I say that, but not necessarily. We'll see. I don't want to say that too soon.
Oddly's a hell of an artist. The one thing that we can't complain about this most recent arc or volume is that it looks like crap. It's been really good to look at. The artwork has been fantastic, right from issue 1.
It's serviceable.
But yeah, it's just so over the top silly that the art is lost in the storytelling, because the storytelling is just
non-existent.
goddamn bad.
Yeah, it's non-existent. Like it's like I don't even want to say it's bad because it's just not there. They haven't, you know what I mean? Like they just haven't done anything.
It's jello.
Mhm.
It's just jello.
Like Cosby era jello. The last one I really have that I want to touch on, Nemesis Reloaded #2.
Oh.
Nemesis #1 was Read of the Week when it came out. This one's high on the list. Oh, that's a fire cover right there.
This is #1. This is the second printing. I missed out on it, and Mark was like, "You are missing out." And I thought, well, this is already an established story, but no. Apparently, just take that first story, throw it away. It doesn't matter, because we're going to move forward with this one.
That's what I was talking about when we did the first one in the beginning. Like there's a beautiful artist note in there, or writer's note from Mark in there that was you should definitely read it. But even if you don't, the very first narrator bubble is everything you heard before this is a lie. This is what really happened. And Mark Millar touches on how this is such a unique property that he created that it just keeps going. Things keep going back to it. It's been picked up and optioned so many times. Anytime someone lets it expire without making a movie, it immediately gets picked up again. He's made more money off this than he did Civil War, off Nemesis. So he thought to himself, we think all the time, what will we do different today? And he thought, why don't I just do it? There are some things I would do vastly different. So why don't I just do it? Why don't I just reload Nemesis? And that's what he did. So this is a jumping on story. Grab issue 1, read it, have your mind blown. Did you get a chance to read issue 2 yet?
No.
Then we'll hold off. It's definitely worth waiting. I'll let you read it. But I will say they touch on his origin in this one, which, man, what a unique origin. Like, this dude's a bastard through and through. Like, he's irredeemable in the best way possible.
I was just thinking, imagine him showing up for the Hulk. Marvel, no, put him on the Amazing Spider-Man, please.
Oh, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah. God, who was it that people were recently speculating that could do Hulk after Kate? Be honest with you, the only person that I would want to see on the Hulk if I had a choice, and I know he's busy, Rom V. Not Rom V and somebody. Rom V. Knowing what he does with Swamp Thing.
Might do a good job because of what he's doing with Moon Knight. Those multiple personalities, Jed McKay. I think if they want to go down the lunacy maybe of Banner, okay. But I think maybe it's time that we pull Banner away from that whole broken mind mentality and just kind of let it.
Yeah. They did at the finale of Immortal Hulk, and then that's one of the things with this issue that I'm like, wait a minute, we solved these trauma moments, but they touch on that in this, like being this deep in his psyche. It's like there's still some trauma in there kind of thing because his dad shows up in his subconscious, but it's just Titan like coming out kind of thing. Titan is the unresolved trauma that was hiding deeper in there, like that he was unaware that ever was in there before kind of thing. So it was a weird plot to try to take on after the finale of Hulk. We should have had like some Bill Bixby style Hulk, in all seriousness, with him traveling, him like dealing with stuff here and there, like not having those.
Yeah, he could have done what they could. This whole volume could have been a slight mimicking of that Captain America miniseries where it was him crossing over the continent, going from side to side on the country. But it didn't necessarily have to be like dealing with Hulks from different communities and stuff. It could have just been Banner crossing the United States or whatever and dealing with whatever threats or whatever happens wherever he is. And you're exactly right. The whole
the Bruce Jones run. Remember, he was just trying to stay under the radar. He was traveling, and you run into crap every now and then. You get the jerk at the truck stop trying to pick a fight with the guy. You know what I'm saying? You do have shady operations that are tracking you down, and it's not the big ones. It's the ones that know who you are from just your exposure to the world. Like, people know who the Hulk is. They know who Banner is. And there's some people out there that think, well, maybe we can use him. Maybe we have our own little think tank, not AIM, not SHIELD, not Hydra, but just personal little, you know what I'm saying? Like that Bruce Jones run is still one of my favorites. That Return of the this one.
Yeah, Return of the Monster.
Mm-hmm. Superman did that too, Walk from Coast to Coast. Paul, do you have any other ones you want to touch on tonight? We're almost hitting 11 o'clock, and I do want to point out to everybody, Lazarus Planet, Dark Fate is the final one-shot before the Omega conclusion next week, and Paul and myself recorded the video today. It will post tomorrow on Sector 2815, where we do the deep dive on this book and break down each of the 4 stories inside, and I give you our thoughts and the details on that.
Yeah, that was the last one I had, and I was going to say the same thing in the interest of time. Head on over to my channel tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
Because it is almost 11 o'clock. I do want to say one last thing. I posted what will be in the February Legion Loot giveaway. I posted it here on YouTube in the shorts section. I posted it on IG. I posted it on Facebook so that no matter where you might keep up with the channel at, when we're not live, you could have seen it, but I will show it off real quick and then we'll head out of here. But Legal Burning is continuing to send stuff to add to these boxes. So we're going with Star Wars Bounty Hunter #1 cover that he did, as well as the Boba Fett mini one. And then I threw in some books as well. We got the John Jang variant for Death Rage #6 that just came out this past week. I picked up 5 of those. I always try to support him when he does the direct covers. We have that Static 1 facsimile. So it does have all the bells and whistles, which I think is fantastic for them to do. I hope they continue to do these through the other 3.
Where was that printed? Like on the front of the bag, it says printed where? I didn't see that.
Printed in Canada.
It's true.
Yeah, apparently their economy is trash, so we have to help fund it. We have Avengers we have Avengers #8 facsimile as well. I've been seeing everyone putting this one into giveaways lately, so I'm like, well, I don't want to leave the channel members over here out. So this is the first appearance of Kang reprinted. Speaking of Batman Beyond the White Knight wrapping up this week, I did get an issue #1, which was a hard to find book that apparently accidentally got underprinted. That at the time, I think it ran up to $10-20, but I found one that I'm throwing in there as well, just because it's a great series, great art. And then Big Time Collectibles, of course, sponsors the box, and we have Spider-Gwen, Gwenverse #2 from David Nakayama.
That's gorgeous.
Edge of Spider-Verse, limited to 1,000, the Felipe Masafera.
And that's even better.
Right.
That Spider-Man 2099 is amazing. I love how reminiscent his art is to Alex Ross, like especially when you look at classic Spidey.
Right.
Love it. Then we have the Batman Joker Deadly Duo. This is the convention exclusive for issue #1 by Miko Suayan. And then lastly, to go with those prints, we have Star Wars The Mandalorian, issue #2, the trade dress version.
Ken Lashley.
Limited to 3,000 copies by the always amazing Ken Lashley. And then as the kicker book, because I love you guys, we got Nova #1, 1976, the first appearance of Nova, a.k.a. Richard Rider in the CGC 6.0. You know, it's a good entry-level grade there for that book. It's not cheap. You know, I do what I can with what I have available.
Awesome.
I take the funds that come in from this channel, and they go back into this channel and beyond.
Awesome.
He says first appearance of Grogu. Is it? I don't think so. Is that the first appearance of anybody? I mean, every Star Wars book is the first appearance of everybody. I don't understand Star Wars spec, but if the U.S. ever runs out of trees, Canada is screwed.
Invasion.
So these right there is what's included in the channel member giveaway, and we'll run the giveaway on the first Sunday of March and see who the winner is. So I appreciate everybody coming and hanging out tonight, talking some Ant-Man with us. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Paul. And thank you to the channel members. These are the listed ones most recently when I updated. I'm missing a bunch on there now from the time I did that. But thank you to everybody.
And congratulations on 2,000 subscribers, Mark.
I haven't hit 2,000 subscribers.
Are you sure?
No.
Okay.
Did I hit it? last Sunday I started the show with what do you call it? 1,893. I remembered I was 7 away when I started the show. And when me and Paul ended the show, I looked and it was at 1,905. And since last week, starting the show at 1893, right now I'm at 1962. So I got roughly 60 subscribers this week. I collect a lot of toys. Chris and Paul know this. I love toys. And anybody's watching my channel from early on, you know that you've seen toys, especially in my old house when I have my shelves up, which are still sitting over there. I was able to put slabs and put my toys up amongst them and stuff. I haven't gotten all that set up over here still, but I've been taking the toys and making shorts out of them with a little bit of comic stuff here I add on there as well, but doing a lot of toy stuff. And that's been bringing a lot of new toy people and stuff watching, as well as just new eyes to the channel as well. But yeah, I will check my DMs, team. I'll do that before we end the stream in case it's relevant. But I'm ready to watch The Last of Us. Oh, it is the first full appearance of Grogu.
Oh,
he sent me the book details. That's the first full appearance of Grogu.
All right.
So that's 2 keys. Baby Yoda for the win.
Boom.
Oh yeah, TM. So yeah, appreciate everybody. Check out my shorts. They're super fun. A lot of toy stuff, some comic stuff on there. Be sure to subscribe to my man, the Comic Vet, Sector 2815. And before we go, Ryan is still doing fantastic. So working and doing new baby life. He will return like James Bond. But until next time, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.